In the vastness of space, where stars burned like distant candles and planets floated silently in the void, humanity was nothing more than a myth. Alien civilizations whispered stories about humans, beings who once walked among the stars with unmatched courage and brilliance. But those tales were dismissed as fairy tales, bedtime stories for children on faraway worlds. No one believed humans ever existed, let alone that they had shaped the galaxy's history. Cal Valen didn't believe the myths either. At least, not at first. He was just an ordinary historian working for the United Galactic Consortium, a massive alliance of alien races ruling over countless star systems. His job was simple: sift through old records, catalog artifacts, and write reports no one would read. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Cal spent most of his days stuck in dimly lit archives, surrounded by dusty relics and forgotten data disks. One day, while exploring a derelict space station orbiting a dying moon, Cal stumbled upon something unusual. Hidden behind a collapsed wall was a small room filled with ancient equipment. Among the rusted panels and broken screens, he found a glowing shard of metal etched with strange symbols. At first glance, it looked like junk, but when Cal touched it, the symbols lit up, projecting faint images into the air. The holograms showed scenes of battles, ships exploding, lasers cutting through darkness, and warriors standing tall against impossible odds. In the center of every image was a massive warship unlike anything Cal had ever seen. Its sleek design, sharp edges, and menacing silhouette made it look like a predator ready to strike. The words Erebus appeared repeatedly in the footage, accompanied by murmurs of awe and fear from unseen voices. Curiosity sparked inside Cal. Who, or what, was Erebus? Why did it inspire such terror? And why had this information been buried so deeply? As he dug further, he uncovered fragmented logs mentioning the human crew. Humans, could it be true? Were these mythical beings real after all? Excited by his discovery, Cal rushed back to the consortium's headquarters. He presented his findings to the council, hoping they'd share his enthusiasm. Instead, they laughed at him. Humans are just legends, one council member sneered. Stop wasting our time with nonsense. Frustrated but undeterred, Cal tried to argue. What if it's real? What if Erebus proves humans existed? The council silenced him with a glare. They confiscated his research, claiming it was dangerous and heretical. Before leaving, one of the guards handed Cal a single piece of evidence they hadn't noticed, a damaged map engraved on a thin sheet of alloy. That night, Cal stared at the map under the dim light of his apartment. It showed unfamiliar star systems and coordinates leading to places he'd never heard of. Something deep within him stirred, a mix of anger, curiosity, and determination. If the consortium wouldn't help him uncover the truth, he'd do it himself. But he couldn't go alone. The map led to dangerous parts of space, areas filled with pirates, radiation storms, and abandoned colonies. Cal needed someone brave and reckless, enough to join him. Someone like Lyra Solis, a scavenger captain known for taking risks others wouldn't dare. The next morning, Cal tracked down Lyra at a crowded spaceport bar. She was exactly as rumored, sharp-tongued, unpredictable, and fiercely independent. When Cal explained his mission, she smirked. "You're either crazy or desperate," she said. "Maybe both." Despite her skepticism, Lyra agreed to help, for a price. Together, they prepared for their journey, knowing they were stepping into the unknown. Somewhere out there, Erebus waited, and Cal couldn't shake the feeling that finding it would change everything, not just for him, but for the entire galaxy. Cal and Lyra stood at the edge of the spaceport, staring up at her battered but reliable ship, the Starhound. It wasn't much to look at. Its hull was patched with mismatched metal plates, and smoke occasionally sputtered from its engines, but it had one thing going for it. It always got the job done. For Cal, who was used to quiet archives and dusty records, stepping onto a smuggler's vessel felt like diving headfirst into chaos. "Ready?" Lyra asked, tossing him a survival kit. Her tone was casual, almost mocking, as if daring him to back out. "As ready as I'll ever be," Cale muttered, clutching the map tightly in his hand. He didn't feel ready at all. The coordinates etched on the alloy sheet pointed to a distant star system, shrouded in electromagnetic storms, a place no sane traveler would willingly visit. But Cale reminded himself why he was doing this. Erebus wasn't just a legend. It was proof that humanity existed, proof that they mattered. The journey began smoothly enough, with Lyra navigating through familiar trade routes while Cale pored over the map. He traced the lines with his fingers, trying to memorize every detail. "This storm zone," he said, pointing to a cluster of jagged symbols. "Is it dangerous?" Lyra snorted. "Dangerous? That's putting it mildly. Ships go in there, and most don't come out. Pirates use it as a hiding spot. Scavengers avoid it like the plague, and nobody knows what's on the other side." "Perfect," Cale replied dryly. As they approached the storm zone, the air inside the ship grew tense. Static crackled over the comms, and the lights flickered. Outside, the stars disappeared behind thick clouds of charged particles swirling violently. Lyra gripped the controls tightly, her usual confidence replaced by focus. Even she seemed uneasy. "This is where things get tricky," she said, glancing at Cale. "Hold on tight." Without warning, the ship lurched forward as the storm swallowed them whole. Bright flashes of energy lit up the cockpit, and alarms blared as systems overloaded. Cale clung to his seat, heart pounding. "Are you sure this tub can handle this?" "It better." Lyra shot back, teeth clenched. "Or we're both dead." After what felt like hours, the turbulence eased. They emerged on the other side of the storm, greeted by an eerie sight. A planet cloaked in perpetual twilight. Its surface shimmered with strange metallic hues, reflecting faint beams of light from its distant sun. This was their destination, the place marked on the map. "Looks inviting," Lyra said sarcastically, steering the ship toward the planet's surface. When they landed, the atmosphere was thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe without masks. The landscape was barren, littered with ruins of structures that looked half organic, half machine. Strange creatures darted between the shadows, beings made of metal and flesh, their glowing eyes watching silently. "These things," Cale whispered, his voice trembling. "What are they?" "No idea," Lyra replied, gripping her weapon tightly. "But they don't look friendly." Before they could retreat, the creatures surrounded them, moving with unnatural speed. One stepped forward, taller than the rest, its body covered in pulsating circuits. It spoke in a language neither Cale nor Lyra understood, but the message was clear: they were trespassers. The creatures led them to a massive structure resembling a temple. Inside, holographic projections flickered to life, showing images of Erebus battling alien fleets. At the center of the room was a pedestal holding a glowing crystal. The leader gestured toward it, then backed away. "It's a test," Cale realized. "They want us to solve it." Lyra rolled her eyes. "Of course they do. Because nothing says welcome like a deadly puzzle." Working together, they deciphered the patterns etched into the crystal, matching them to the symbols on Cale's map. With a final click, the crystal lit up, revealing new coordinates. The creatures let them leave, their glowing eyes filled with something akin to respect. Back on the Starhound, Cale stared at the updated map. "We're getting closer," he said, determination burning in his chest. "And deeper into trouble," Lyra added, smirking despite herself. Neither of them knew what awaited them next, but one thing was certain: their journey was far from over. Cale and Lyra followed the new coordinates revealed by the glowing crystal, their journey taking them deeper into uncharted space. The map led them to a massive derelict fleet orbiting a dying star. Ships of all shapes and sizes were fused together like a twisted metal graveyard, their hulls corroded and lifeless. The sight was haunting. a silent testament to battles long forgotten. "Looks like someone threw a party and forgot to clean up," Lyra muttered as she guided the Starhound through the wreckage. But Kel's focus was elsewhere. His eyes scanned the debris field, searching for something specific. "There," he said suddenly, pointing to a massive silhouette at the center of the graveyard. It was Erebus, or what remained of it. The warship loomed over the other vessels, its sleek design unmistakable even in its dormant state. Its surface was scarred from countless battles, but it still radiated an aura of power that sent shivers down Kel's spine. Lyra frowned. "You sure about this? That thing looks like it could eat us whole." "We don't have a choice," Kel replied firmly. "This is why we came here." They docked on Erebus' outer hull, stepping onto its cold, metallic surface. The airlock hissed open, granting them access to the ship's interior. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, with flickering lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Holographic displays floated in midair, showing scenes of past victories and defeats. Broken drones lay scattered across the floor, their circuits fried and useless. "This place feels alive," Lyra whispered, her voice tinged with unease. "It's not just a machine," Kel said, recalling the stories he'd uncovered. "It's more than that." As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon a chamber filled with holograms depicting humans working alongside advanced technology. Kel froze, staring at the images. These were the people who had once commanded Erebus, his ancestors. They wore uniforms adorned with symbols of unity, their faces etched with determination. For the first time, Kel felt a connection to the legends he'd spent years chasing. Suddenly, the room came alive. A bright light enveloped them, and a figure materialized before their eyes. It resembled a man, but his body shimmered like liquid metal, and his eyes glowed with an intense blue light. "I am Aegis," the figure said in a calm yet commanding voice. "I am the consciousness of Erebus." Kel stepped forward, his heart racing. "We've come to learn the truth about Erebus and humanity." Aegis studied them for a moment, then nodded. "You seek answers, but first, you must prove yourselves worthy." Before they could respond, the ground beneath them shifted, and the walls began to move. Panels slid apart, revealing hidden mechanisms and traps. Aegis explained that Erebus had been damaged during an internal conflict among its human crew centuries ago. Trust had broken down, leading to chaos and destruction. Now, Erebus required a pilot who embodied the resilience and adaptability of humanity to restore its purpose. "You will face trials," Aegis continued. "Only then will I decide if you are fit to command Erebus." The first trial began immediately. Kel and Lyra found themselves in a maze-like corridor, filled with shifting walls and deadly obstacles. Lasers shot out randomly, forcing them to dodge and think quickly. Lyra's instincts kicked in as she spotted patterns in the movements. "Follow me," she shouted, weaving through the lasers with agility. Kel struggled to keep up, his mind overwhelmed by fear and doubt. But he pushed himself, remembering why he was here. This wasn't just about him. It was about proving humanity's worth. Together, they reached the end of the maze, panting but alive. "Well done," Aegis said, appearing again. But there was more. Over the next few hours, they faced increasingly difficult challenges, puzzles requiring teamwork, physical tests pushing their limits, and moments testing their trust in each other. Through every trial, Kel and Lyra relied on their strengths, Kel's knowledge and determination, and Lyra's quick thinking and bravery. Finally, the last trial ended, leaving them exhausted but triumphant. Aegis regarded them silently before speaking. "You have proven your worth. Erebus awaits your command." Kel hesitated, looking at Lyra. She gave him a small nod, her expression unreadable. He turned back to Aegis. "Tell us everything." And so, Aegis began to reveal the full story of Erebus and the burden it carried. Aegis' voice echoed through the chamber, steady and calm, yet heavy with the weight of centuries. Kale and Lyra listened intently as the glowing figure began to recount the story of Erebus and humanity's fall from grace. Erebus was not just a warship, Aegis explained. It was created as a beacon of hope, a vessel designed to protect humanity during its darkest hour, when other species in the galaxy grew jealous of human innovation and ingenuity. They declared war. Entire civilizations united against you, seeking to erase humanity from existence. Kale clenched his fists, anger burning inside him. He had always known humans were gone, but hearing how they were hunted down made it feel personal, like a wound that had never healed. Humans fought back fiercely, Aegis continued. But even their brilliance could not withstand such overwhelming odds. Erebus became their last stand, a fusion of organic and synthetic technology, powered by the collective strength of its crew. It was meant to safeguard survivors and find new worlds where humanity could rebuild. Lyra frowned. If Erebus was so powerful, why did it fail? Aegis paused, his glowing eyes dimming slightly. The fault lies within us, in humanity itself. As the war dragged on, trust broke down among the crew. Some believed violence was the only answer, while others sought peace. Their disagreements turned into conflict, tearing Erebus apart from the inside. In the end, the ship self-destructed its core systems to prevent further bloodshed, leaving it adrift in space. Kale felt a pang of sadness. Humanity's greatest creation had been undone by its own flaws. And now, he asked quietly, what happens now? Aegis looked directly at him. Now, Erebus needs a new pilot, someone who can embody the best of humanity, its courage, creativity, and compassion. But beware, wielding this power comes with great responsibility. You will face choices that will shape the fate of the galaxy. Kale hesitated. The idea of commanding such a legendary vessel filled him with awe, but also fear. Could he live up to the legacy of those who came before? Would he make the same mistakes? Lyra stepped forward, breaking the silence. You don't have to decide right away, she said firmly. Think about it. This isn't just about proving humanity's worth. It's about what kind of future you want to build. Her words struck a chord. Kale realized she was right. Erebus wasn't just a weapon. It was a chance to rewrite history. But how should he use it? To fight back against those who destroyed humanity, or to forge a new path, one of peace and exploration? As they pondered their next move, Aegis led them to another chamber, the heart of Erebus. At its center was a glowing console surrounded by intricate circuits and pulsating energy streams. This is the command nexus, Aegis explained. Activate it, and Erebus will awaken fully under your control. Kale stared at the console, his mind racing. He thought about all the sacrifices made by the humans who came before him. He thought about the ruins of their civilization scattered across the stars. And he thought about the galaxy today, a place still rife with greed, fear, and hatred. I'll do it, he said finally, stepping toward the console. Lyra grabbed his arm. Are you sure? Once you start this, there's no turning back. I know, Kale replied, meeting her gaze. But if I don't try, then everything they fought for will be lost forever. With a deep breath, Kale placed his hands on the console. Energy surged through him, connecting him to Erebus in ways he couldn't fully comprehend. Memories flooded his mind, images of battles, laughter, tears, and dreams. He felt the pain of loss, but also the hope of renewal. When the surge subsided, Erebus roared to life. Lights blazed throughout the ship, and dormant systems hummed with activity. For the first time in centuries, the warship was alive again. You are now its pilot, Aegis said solemnly. Choose wisely. Kale nodded, determination hardening in his chest. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on. With Lyra by his side, he prepared to leave the derelict fleet behind and set course for the unknown. But as they departed, Kale couldn't shake the feeling that Erebus' awakening would send shockwaves through the galaxy. And not everyone would welcome its return. Erebus' awakening did not go unnoticed. As Kale and Lyra guided the warship through the void of space, its presence sent ripples across the galaxy. Ancient sensors buried in forgotten corners of the universe detected its energy signature, a signal that hadn't been seen for centuries. News spread like wildfire among alien civilizations, sparking both awe and terror. On distant planets, scholars pored over ancient texts, debating whether Erebus was truly real or just another myth brought to life by overactive imaginations. Politicians convened emergency meetings, their faces pale as they discussed what this meant for the balance of power. Traders whispered rumors in crowded markets, while pirates sharpened their weapons, eager to test their mettle against the legendary vessel. Kale sat in the command chair aboard Erebus, staring at the holographic display showing incoming transmissions. Dozens of messages flooded in, some curious, others hostile, all demanding answers. "What do we do with these?" he asked Lyra, who leaned casually against the console nearby. "Delete them," she said without hesitation. "We don't owe anyone an explanation. Not yet." But Kale hesitated. He knew they couldn't ignore the galaxy's reaction forever. Erebus wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol, a reminder of humanity's past and a beacon for its future. How they responded would shape how others viewed them, and whether they be welcomed or feared. As they navigated toward uncharted territories, Kale began to feel the weight of his decision. Commanding Erebus wasn't like reading about it in dusty archives. It was real, tangible, and terrifying. Every system hummed under his control, every weapon waited for his command. The power was intoxicating, but also dangerous. Lyra noticed his unease. "You look like you're carrying the whole galaxy on your shoulders," she teased, though her tone softened. "Talk to me. What's bothering you?" "It's everything," Kale admitted, rubbing his temples. "I keep thinking about what Aegis said, about choices shaping the future. What if I make the wrong one? What if Erebus becomes a tool for revenge instead of hope?" Lyra crossed her arms, considering his words. "Revenge might feel good for a moment, but it won't bring humanity back. You've got a chance here to show everyone that humans weren't just fighters. They were explorers, dreamers, survivors. Focus on that." Her words struck a chord. Kale realized she was right. Humanity's legacy wasn't defined by the wars they fought, but by the worlds they discovered and the ideas they shared. If Erebus became a force for destruction, it would dishonor those who came before. Determined to stay true to his vision, Kale set a course for a remote star system marked on Aegis' database. According to the records, it contained habitable planets untouched by colonization, a potential new home for any surviving humans, if they existed. The journey wasn't easy. Along the way, Erebus encountered fleets of alien ships, some curious, others openly hostile. One group, a coalition of scavengers, attempted to surround the warship, believing it carried valuable artifacts. But Erebus' defenses were unmatched. With a single pulse from its energy cannons, the scavenger ships scattered, leaving behind trails of debris. "They're testing us," Lyra observed, watching the retreat on the monitor. "Word's getting out that Erebus is alive, and now everyone wants a piece of it." Kale nodded grimly. "Let them try. We're not here to conquer or destroy. We're here to find a way forward." Despite the growing tension, Kale refused to engage in unnecessary conflict. Instead, he used Erebus' advanced systems to avoid confrontations, slipping through asteroid fields and nebulae undetected. Each successful evasion reinforced his resolve to use the warship wisely. When they finally reached the star system, Kale felt a flicker of hope. The planets were lush and vibrant, teeming with life. Scans revealed breathable atmospheres, fertile soil, and abundant resources. For the first time since awakening Erebus, Kale allowed himself to imagine a brighter future, one where humanity could rise again. But as they prepared to land, a warning flashed on the console. Multiple alien fleets were converging on their location, drawn by Erebus' trail. "We're out of time," Lyra said, strapping herself into her seat. "They're coming for us." Cale gripped the controls tightly, determination blazing in his eyes. "Then let's show them what Erebus can really do." The alien fleets arrived faster than Cale had anticipated. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the skies, their weapons trained on Erebus. Some were small scout vessels, while others were massive warships bristling with cannons and missiles. Their flags bore symbols of rival factions, empires, syndicates, and rogue mercenaries, all united by one goal: to claim Erebus for themselves. Cale's heart raced as he monitored the situation from the command chair. "How many are there?" he asked Lyra, who was scanning the incoming ships. "Too many," she replied grimly. "At least 50, maybe more. They're surrounding us." Erebus systems hummed with readiness, its defenses primed for battle. Aegis' voice echoed through the chamber. "Shall I activate combat protocols?" "No," Cale said firmly. "Not yet. We're not here to fight them." Lyra shot him a skeptical look. "You sure about that?" "Because they're not here to talk." "I know," Cale replied, his jaw tightening. "But if we start shooting, we'll prove what they already think, that Erebus is just a weapon. We need to show them it's more than that." He opened a communication channel, broadcasting to all nearby ships. "This is Cale Valen, pilot of Erebus. We come in peace. Our mission is exploration, not conquest. Leave this system, and no harm will come to you." The response was immediate and mocking. One alien commander, a hulking reptilian creature with glowing red eyes, sneered at him through the screen. "Peace? You expect us to believe that? Erebus is a relic of destruction, built by humans who brought ruin to the galaxy. Surrender it now, or face annihilation." Cale felt a surge of anger, but forced himself to stay calm. "We don't want war. But if you attack, we'll defend ourselves." The commander laughed. "Defend yourselves? Against all of us? You're outnumbered, human. This ends now." With that, the first wave of ships charged forward, firing lasers and projectiles. Cale clenched the controls, his mind racing. "Aegis, activate shields. Divert power to defensive systems." Erebus responded instantly, its shimmering energy barrier deflecting the incoming attacks. Despite being outnumbered, the warship's advanced technology gave it an edge. Cale maneuvered Erebus with precision, dodging barrages and using the planet's gravitational pull to gain speed. "Now what?" Lyra asked, her hands gripping the console. "We fight smart," Cale replied. "Target their engines, disable them without killing anyone. Show them we're not here to destroy." Using Erebus' pinpoint accuracy, Cale fired bursts of energy at the enemy ships, disabling their thrusters and weapons without causing fatal damage. One by one, the attackers drifted out of the fight, powerless but alive. The alien commander growled in frustration. Enough games. Full assault. The remaining ships unleashed everything they had, overwhelming Erebus shields. Alarms blared as the barrier flickered. Cale gritted his teeth. "Lyra, reroute auxiliary power to the shields. Aegis, prepare for evasive maneuvers." Working together, they executed a daring plan. Erebus unleashed a concentrated pulse wave, temporarily disabling every ship in range. The battlefield fell silent as the attackers floated helplessly in space. Cale opened another channel. "This is your last chance. Leave now, or we'll finish what we started." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly, the alien ships began to retreat. The commander glared at Cale one final time before disappearing into the void. As the threat faded, Cale slumped back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. Lyra let out a low whistle. That was close. Too close. "It's not over," Cale said quietly. "They'll be back. And next time, they won't hold back." "But neither will we," Lyra added, smirking despite the tension. Cale nodded, determination hardening in his chest. Erebus wasn't just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, and he would protect that legacy, no matter the cost. The battle had ended, but the galaxy was far from calm. News of Erebus' victory spread like wildfire, igniting debates among alien civilizations. Some hailed it as a miracle, a second chance for humanity to rise from the ashes. Others saw it as a threat, fearing that Erebus would tip the balance of power in unpredictable ways. For Kale and Lyra, however, the fight was only beginning. As they landed on one of the lush planets in the star system, Kale stepped out of Erebus for the first time since becoming its pilot. The air was crisp and clean, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth. Birds with iridescent feathers flitted between trees, their songs echoing through the forest. It was a stark contrast to the cold metal corridors of the Warship and the chaos they'd left behind. "This place," Kale murmured, his voice tinged with awe. "It's perfect." Lyra stood beside him, arms crossed as she surveyed the landscape. "Perfect for what?" "Starting over. Building a new home." She raised an eyebrow. "You sure you're ready for that kind of responsibility?" Kale didn't answer right away. He knelt down, running his fingers through the soft soil. This was more than just a planet. It was hope. A chance to rebuild not just humanity, but its ideals. Compassion. Exploration. Peace. "I have to be," he said finally. "If we don't try, then everything Erebus stands for will mean nothing." Over the next few days, Kale and Lyra worked tirelessly to set up a temporary base. Using Erebus' advanced systems, they scanned the planet for resources, mapped safe zones, and began constructing shelters. It wasn't easy. Neither of them were engineers, but they learned quickly, relying on teamwork and determination. Meanwhile, Kale couldn't shake the feeling that their actions were being watched. At night, strange lights flickered in the sky, too organized to be natural phenomena. When he mentioned it to Lyra, she shrugged. "Could be aliens checking us out, or maybe it's just your imagination." But Kale knew better. They weren't alone. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a fleet of ships descended from orbit. Kale tensed, expecting another attack. But when the ships landed, the beings who emerged weren't soldiers. They were diplomats, representatives from various alien factions, each carrying symbols of peace. "We've come to negotiate," one of them said, stepping forward. His voice was calm but firm. "Erebus has shown us that humanity is more than a legend. We want to understand your intentions and ensure the galaxy remains stable." Kale exchanged a glance with Lyra before addressing the group. "Our intention is simple: to honor humanity's legacy by exploring the stars and building bridges, not tearing them down. Erebus isn't here to conquer. It's here to inspire." The diplomats listened carefully, their expressions unreadable. After hours of discussion, they agreed to leave the planet untouched, for now. In return, Kale promised to keep Erebus activities transparent and avoid escalating tensions further. When the meeting ended, Lyra turned to Kale with a smirk. "Guess you're officially a politician now." He chuckled weakly. "Let's hope I'm better at this than fighting." In the weeks that followed, Kale and Lyra continued their work, laying the foundation for a new chapter in humanity's story. Erebus remained their guardian, watching over the planet as they prepared for the challenges ahead. But Kale knew the galaxy wouldn't stay peaceful forever. Rival factions still coveted Erebus' power, and old wounds ran deep. Yet, as he gazed up at the stars, he felt a quiet resolve. Humanity's journey wasn't defined by its past, it was shaped by its future. And with Erebus by his side, Kale was ready to face whatever came next.